Hello once again. So we're currently going through a problem about email, and I'm trying to find the email that you sent me with what we're going to talk about today, and I can't find it. And I think that we need to just have a little touch base on what is important around email and why email is a problem or there's a lot of waste in it. Hey.
Well, I just got off talking with another business leader, and we were going through the power of managing your time well. And he was there with his email up, and every 15 minutes during the conversation, I would ask, "And how many unread emails do you have now, mate?" And the number every 15 minutes went up 20.
Wow.
And I don't think this leader is alone in having the stones in the backpack of email. Every 15 minutes, another 20, 25 stones get loaded in there. And you sort of think for businesses, 5% value add, 95% non-value add for the normal business. We're talking to what the non-value add actually looks like, those 25 emails every 15 minutes, 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, 220 days in the year. It's a big mountain, mate.
It is. And I mean, if you can free yourself from that, I think that, your focus is on more creative thinking and thinking time in general about things that really matter. I certainly don't get that level of emails, but I get enough to annoy me. And I get things that frustrate me too. Like we run the business on using, Trello boards to manage our work in manageable chunks. Given a lot of our work is development or creative work, it's hard to put a time frame to what needs to be done. So you've got to run kind of agile visual board, Scrum board. Every time there's a change made on the board, I get an email notification, or if there's been several changes made within say half a day, I'll get one email from them, from Trello. It's useful, but it's also a curse because sometimes I can get 10 emails from Trello. Now, I could probably slow that down, but then is that actually me ignoring a workflow? Why am I using email to tell me something that really I should be in the habit of checking, 2-3 times a day anyway, which is the actual Trello board where the work is happening? And that is probably more the habit I want to have. To that end, that's like, instead of using my email to work out what's going on, I should actually be going to the Gemba, which is where my Trello boards are, and spending time looking through them and being in touch with what's going on with them, rather than waiting for it to come to me, which is almost like a push, if you could imagine.
So I can sort of paraphrase what you tell me, because I'm 10,000 years old, according to most people, including the kids. And I'm one who has a physical Gemba rather than a virtual Gemba. And what you're telling me is what would happen if my physical information centre somehow managed to have a loudspeaker on my TV telling me anytime anyone went to update any one of the measures for my next information centre meeting at the beginning of shift tomorrow. And I would say to the person who designed that, no, mate, I only need to go to my Gemba once a day at the beginning of the shift, or if one of my team comes and tells me that something extraordinary has happened and we need to act on it now.
Yeah.
The computer is a fast idiot, fast in that it can tell me things very quickly, and an idiot because it has no judgment. So it doesn't know what's important and what can wait until the start of the next shift. Yeah.
It is an ongoing problem, and I think that like many things digital, it's vying for our attention. I recently been using trying and playing around with the Cortana addition to Outlook. So Cortana is, I think, some level of AI that Microsoft is putting across your emails and finding phrases and keywords that would indicate that there are things you need to follow up on or things you need to be reminded of. And it provides you with a summary email. So it looks through previous days' emails and it goes, here's something we think that you might need to follow up with because you haven't. It doesn't appear like you have. So far, I'd say it's probably about 60% effective at helping me remember certain things that look important. Has it reduced my workload? No, not really. It has allowed me at the start of the day to be maybe a little bit more choosy about where I spend my time. But at the end of the day, it's still another thing that's vying for my attention when instead I should be going to my Gemba to find out what's really going on.
Yes, and Cortana, Halo jokes aside, is Microsoft's attempt to try and tell us you've forgotten something, mate.
Yeah.
The drawback I find with Cortana is I work under the philosophy that email is like weed out in the paddock there, that, every time I send an email, I get one coming back at me. To break that cycle, often, if there's an ask of me, then I'll call the person back and say, you asked for X, and here it is, mate, rather than send an email that generates another email that creates a cycle of endless emailing.
Yeah.
But, if it's 60% effective, well, that takes you from 5% value add to 6% value add, doesn't it, mate?
Yeah, it does. It does. It's I think it's an ongoing problem. I don't think we're ever going to solve this, but I think it's interesting for us to sort of talk through what we're seeing. There's certainly today's discussion has disturbed me from what we were just talking about, and that going to the Gemba is still a better source of information. Picking up the phone, going and seeing somebody is still a better source of information. We also get a bit hung up on recording things in written format, which is important, but it can lead to us not communicating effectively as well, on the pretense that we want to make sure we've covered our backsides by putting everything down in writing in an email, so that when things don't go right, we've got this email chain that we're not to blame, and that brings us back into the whole blame game.
Or positive spin, the trust game.
The trust game, yeah. That's a good point, actually. Like, where's the trust? Where's the trust in business? So I guess that's a really important point as well.
So, maybe, and the email conversation is one I'm sure we'll come back to, but maybe if we headed towards Six Sigma, 1 defect per million operations, then we wouldn't need as many emails to write down the things that often we forget to do, which is a source of defects in our business.
Yeah, 100%. I think, just in my experience, where I've seen businesses that really get that right, a lot of when the quality is high and the processes function well within a business, the email drops right off, particularly the internal email, which is all about covering one's backside, crisis meetings and so on and so forth. All of that goes out the window because there's no longer the need for crisis meetings. There's no longer the need to cover one's backside because things are actually going as planned. And when things don't go right, people realise that getting together as a group and solving the problem is actually far more valuable than firing off a series of emails, CCing everybody in to see who they can make the problem stick to.
So email is not end on, mate.
No, it shouldn't be. It's tricky. We even turn it into and on too. Some softwares will email you when a piece of plant or equipment goes down, for example, which is what an end on is about. Other softwares will send you a text or a notification to your phone, much more useful because it buzzes in your pocket. You look at it, you go and you go out and get involved in the problem that the end on is calling you to. Emails just excess inventory.
Now, you using the old worm pits, or what do you use to remember the 8 waste, mate?
Use UTIM wood or wood mitts, but UTIM wood's my favourite one.
Okay, whether you use worm pits or something else, the wastes are the same and they are there. And
Yeah.
I do wonder whether some of the IT things are a solution looking for a problem, that in terms of a concern, containment and countermeasure, they don't really generate me a containment or a countermeasure. They're just a different way of my and-on red flashing light appearing.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. And I think there, that analogy, the hammer looking for a nail to hit. A lot of times, I think software is almost comes out of a good idea, but it ends up being the hammer looking for the nail to hit. The problem is those nails exist in a business quite often through just due to the amount of waste that's been created in the business. So then they have all this waste. The way to solve it is let's put a bit of software over the top of it, and you end up with managing an ongoing problem or an ongoing waste really fast. But you didn't eliminate the waste. You just sort of putting band-aids on it.
And from the wisdom of the 10,000-year-old person in the conversation, sometimes that computer is a fast idiot mindset is a good one to have. If you need it done repeatedly and reproducibly with no judgment, computer's your man or woman. If you do need it with some consideration, that's human work, Cortana aside.
Yep. I think I kind of feel though that like software or smart AI, say smart AI in my email is really, really valuable if the stuff I'm getting in email is not waste. Like if my email is, if I've been very focused on not using my email to create inventory and to tell me things that I should be using habit and behavior to go out and find, then the AI like Cortana, it becomes actually valuable because it tells you something that's actually valuable rather than just going, oh, here's a reminder to follow up on an automatically generated email from another software. Like that's just a waste on a waste,
So your and-on is false signaling that there's another and-on behind it flashing.
Yeah, it pretty much is, and I think that's actually, part of the issue as well is like maybe all these software companies are all trying to solve everybody else's inefficiencies, trying to be everything to everybody in a way.
Well, there was something you said in one of your course presentations that resonated with me. If 5% is the value add versus 95% non-value add, if someone can claw just 1% more efficient, they've increased their productivity 20%.
Yeah, there's a lot of efficiencies. I look at it, there's many different ways to look at this, but you've only got to look at, how much difference, a small improvement in your value add makes across, your net profit, for example. If you're running at a margin of, 10% net profit and you improve your efficiencies in your cost of goods sold, remove waste and improve efficiency in the labor, and you can do, 1% more there, it's worth 10% on the net profit. So, 1% there might mean instead of making 10% net profit, you're making 11% net profit, but that's 10% better than you were. And 10% better than you were is, particularly when you're talking about net profit, is so important.
Indeed it is. And, I've got my little cue cards that I keep close at hand here, and the little table here that you probably can't read talks to the cost of delaying your net profit improvement. So, if you're going to make $1 million extra per year, which we could only wish for, every week we haven't started and completed that project is $19,000 out of that financial year pissed up against the wall, wasted money.
Yeah.
So, each of us have 168 hours a week, I hear. It's the great leveler, whether you are the queen or you're the street sweeper, you still each get the same allocation of time in a week.
Yes.
Do you want to use that on value add, or do you want to squander it reading your email?
Yeah.
Now, I did give old mate who was getting a few dozen emails every 15 minutes a suggestion, which feels a very simple way of breaking the cycle. I said to him, well, look, internally, I can't manage how your clients communicate with you, but I know you can manage how you communicate with one another, as this person was the boss. If you just put action : title of email, then I know that there's an action for me. If you're sending it to three of us, if you put action open brackets, name of person to do, action close brackets : title, then I know it's an action for me or Jane or John. And if it's for your information, if I just put FYI : title, then I know quite reasonably that that's not urgent or important, and I can set it aside.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sounds pretty easy. Any idea why people don't do that?
Because it takes discipline. I mean, it's the same as me getting all those emails from Trello and then going, oh, well, that just reminds me that I don't have the discipline to always go into Trello 3-4 times a day and actually go to my Gemba and check out what's going on. So I think it kind of falls into that same thing about discipline. And it does take, I don't know, I think it does take a certain kind of mindset or a certain level of mindset to actually achieve that kind of discipline. It's not going to be for everybody, and I don't think you can maintain it all the time as well. It's very hard to do. But when you do it, it makes big differences.
And a lot of leaders, building on that, talk to us about how they feel stressed, how they feel frantic, how they wished they could be better leaders or do more or do it more effectively. That discipline to set you free to be able to enjoy your work without being worried about what I've missed or set aside, or what powder keg may be sitting in my email where my end-on hasn't told me that it's arrived and it's urgent and important. It's very liberating in a lot of ways.
Absolutely.
So I agree with you. Although I'm not disciplined by any measure, I recognise that a discipline does give you something that's far more valuable than not doing it, which is it sets you free.